All right, guys. Welcome back to the Art of Connecting podcast. We have Mr. Vincent Phipps here.
Whoop, whoop.
How you doing today?
Hayden, every time I see you, sir, my day gets better.
Thank you so much. Me and Vincent got to meet in person just the other day. He came on a food tour with me, so supporting Miss Brianna Garza's business.
Fantastic food tour.
Oh man, it was awesome. We had some great conversations.
Chat Taste Tours, check them out.
Absolutely. Can't miss it. You really can't. Well, Vincent, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do out here?
Native Chattanoogan, proud husband, proud father, proud professor, proud coach, proud speaker, honored to bring value. The name of the company is Communication VIP, Training and Coaching. The VIP represents what we teach in public speaking and also in presentation training. Stands for very impactful presentations. The VIP are also my initials, Vincent Ivan Phipps.
Awesome. I love that. I love a play on words with the naming. It's not easy to come up with a business name.
It's not. It took a while, and one of the things people usually use their name, Smith Consulting, Johnson Advertising, and that's great. I did not want my name affiliated, but I wanted to encapsulate what it is that we taught. And in Communication VIP, are very impactful presentations. At the foundation of every presentation, there are your communication skills. Therefore, we call the company Communication VIP.
I love that. Yeah. Art of Connecting, I can attribute that to Chatt GPT. They created the name for my podcast because I had no idea what I wanted to call it. And I was the same way. I knew I didn't want to have my name on it.
Right.
Because eventually this is going to become a business and I will want to step away. And I don't want to have my name all over it because then...
What happens if you're gone?
Exactly.
Understandable.
Awesome.
Understandable. We got started in 2010, and we had the honor of getting some recognition early, of being voted in the top 3 small businesses within our first 5 years 2 times.
Incredible.
And we're the only African-American owned training company in the history of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Look at that. Breaking records.
Crazy.
Breaking records. That is incredible.
So you got a brother, you got a black man from Tennessee teaching speech.
And doing a dang good job.
Oh, you're too kind, sir.
So let's talk about how doing a speech, preparing a presentation, how important is the human connection aspect of that? How do you incorporate that into a speech or into a presentation you're making?
The first thing you want to look at, Hayden, is just to own how hard it is to present your heart to someone else's mind. You are putting yourself out there in all your glory, your flaws, your your no's, your I was likes, your lack of vocabulary. If you have any type of physical idiosyncrasies, such as you may be a sweater. If you sweat, or your hands may shake. So it's not just the words. You are putting yourself out there. One of the best ways to make sure that you are impactful with your presentations is to first believe that whatever you're talking about has value. If you don't believe your content, it's going to show in your voice. It's going to show in your body language. If someone asks you a question, the answer is yes, you won't say yes. You'll go, well, yeah.
I think so.
I think so, kinda, sorta, basically all those evil L-Y words. You want to first make sure that you believe in what you're doing. Now, a lot of that goes back to, have you properly prepared? Have you done your research? Have you had mentors? Have you gone to training? Have you read books? Have you watched videos? Have you watched podcasts like this great one? Have you done your due diligence? First, start with, are you supposed to be up there? Should you be speaking right now? Because if you're unprepared, so much of that anxiety is going to show through. So the first thing is just be okay with knowing that you have value, but you got to earn the right to have value. Then the second thing is make sure you understand the needs of your audience. Don't have a canned presentation. Don't have a canned sales pitch. Don't have a canned delivery. Make sure you understand who you're talking to, because if you're selling cookies, your pitch to a company that wants to purchase 1,000 cookies for their annual picnic that pitch will be different than someone who is wanting to firm up and cut down on calories. And that pitch will be different to a school that wants to have some cookies for their students. So you may have the same cookies, Hayden,
right,
but you have to understand the needs of your audience, modify your approach, and that will make you effective as a speaker.
Speaking of doing research, video from Vincent came across my feed this morning, and I was like, this is perfect. Talking with him in just a few hours.
Wow.
So you were talking about how important it is to ask questions before you go into your pitch. What are some of those questions that you might ask to create that specialty pitch and to really magnify that connection with people?
First, do your research about the history of the company. What are their challenges? What are their products or services? What are the things that they consider valuable? Who are those customers or that client's ideal demographic? So you do a little bit of research. Let's say, for example, you are going to talk to a group of investors and you want them to believe in what you're doing. You may have found out through some research that they believe in a lot of things that are culturally conscious. Some of them may believe in doing things that are emotionally sensitive, such as depression or those who have to deal with grief or someone who has lost. Before starting your presentation, you may just ask some questions such as, I know that one of my topics is fitness. What are some of the things that you think I could share that would bring value for those who are dealing with loss? Or you may say, if I'm talking about wanting to start up a tech company, I noticed that on your website, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that some of your clients also need consultants. What would you say are the two biggest challenges that your clients are looking for? And you ask those questions based on your research. Now, you may have only seen the home page of the website. That's all you got. But when you ask those questions, if they say, well, we need people that understand the basics of how to use a computer, or we need to, how do you deal with someone who lost a loved one versus they've been married to for 20 years versus maybe someone who lost a sibling or a child, then you customize your presentation. So you don't come with your, oh, we got the A, B, and C. You say, you know what, for that, here's one of the things that we can do to help you. Then you just mentioned that. If you say, for someone that's interested in this area, here's a new program that we have that we really think is going to be the most advantageous for that audience. Here's what we have for you. That way, the presentation, it may be the same information, but when you can ask, listen, then customize, that gives you the advantage.
And you're doing something different from everybody else.
Absolutely. Because nobody else has questions.
Right. And everybody else is just trying to sell. They're just trying to come in and sell instead of solve.
That's it.
You got to solve instead of sell.
If you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs on episodes like Shark Tank, or if you look at a lot of the phenomenal small business programs that we have here in our wonderful city in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so many of the ideas that are unappreciated, that are lacking that investing power, they don't have a compelling pitch. They do not have a story. They're wanting to get approval on either what they feel is their glamorous personality, or they're wanting someone to just take a chance on them. And smart people don't take chances. Smart people look for investment opportunities about what makes sense financially, what makes sense according to their goals, but nobody's out there taking a risk on you because they believe in you. Because there's 8,000 people that deserve a break. You've got to bring them something else other than, I just really want to be a better person. Yeah, well, who doesn't? But can you show me a spreadsheet?
Where are the numbers?
Can you show me a vision board?
So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit and ask, how did you become an expert public speaker? Where did this start? Where'd your journey begin?
I was one of those weird kids, Hayden, that enjoyed show and tell, and I never knew that people were afraid of public speaking. When I turned pro, sound like an athlete. When I turned pro, I turned pro twice. I turned pro legally in 2010 when we started the business. But I turned pro mentally 3 years earlier in 2007 when I broke my neck. And as a result of going through that rehab, I had several people who sent me cards and letters and all of these kind of compliments about how I helped them get an interview, how I helped them overcome their stage fright. And everybody wants to eat apple pie, Hayden, but nobody wants to plant apple seeds. And I didn't have the apple then, but I had the apple seed planted. And when my employer then was wondering how quickly I could recover from breaking my neck and get back to work, that didn't sit well with my father or my girlfriend, who's my wife now. And I was so hyped up on Oxycontin and cyclobenzaprine and Advil, Tylenol. It was all good to me, brother. But when I realized how valuable it is for others to speak well, to be in front of audiences, to give compelling sales pitches, I could break this stuff down and teach it to people. And I'm thinking, everybody can talk. Who can't talk? But it's not about not talking. They want it to be structured and smooth and to be articulate and to be able to convey compelling messages. And those were things that I took for granted because I had those skills very early. Other skills I lacked. But at that point, I realized, break this down. How do you start a speech? How do you encapsulate a story? How do you ask questions? When do you use statistics? How do you use your body language? What if they ask a question you're unprepared for? I came up with all of these nuances that freak people out. I asked them, what makes you nervous? What makes you uncomfortable? I took those answers and then I created scenarios of here's what my clients say, here's what experts say, and I was able to come up with systematic approaches, and that's how I first got started.
So what was your position in the job before? What did that look like before?
I was a communication coach.
Okay.
I was traveling all over the world, and I was teaching classes on listening skills, behavioral science, how to reduce defensiveness, and I loved it. It was a joy. That's what I was doing for 13 years before starting Communication VIP. Then I end up coming back early from my surgery. I end up seeing the books about what clients were being charged to have me speak. Then I looked at my commission and I saw a gap,
big old
big gap between what I was being paid versus what was being charged. And I understand how business works, and you got to make a profit. And I love that job, and I loved the mentoring that I received. I wanted to look at a way to narrow that gap if I could bring more value. It wasn't in that company's vision at the time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't part of the growth, and that's where I realized that I can help a lot more people in a different avenue, and that's where the seed was planted of how Communication VIP was blossomed.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about, let's see, stepping out on faith. Let's talk about that. I had Bruce write down, Bruce, oh gosh, sorry. I was over here. I had Vincent write out some just a few little notes because we had a great conversation before this episode started. Mm-hmm. So you wrote down stepping out of faith budget. Let's talk about that.
As a small business owner, finance has to be part of the conversation. Passion is important, education is important, skill is important. You've got to be able to talk about money. If your math sucks as a small business owner, get some help. Mm-hmm. Find somebody that understands the numbers, because it doesn't matter how much you charge or how much you make. What matters is how much can you keep. And that's where a lot of small businesses, you know this, Hayden, you're looking at probably 8 out of 10 fail in the first couple of years. Now, it seems like every time I see that statistic, the percentage goes up and the length goes down. Mm-hmm. So it's within the first year, in the first 8 months, in the first 6 months. So a lot of them are failing. Here's one of the things I did to make sure I could increase my chances of longevity, and it'll be 13 years in November that we've been able to sustain. The first thing we did was, and I say we, my wife and I, right. Our team, the first thing we did was look at what does our lifestyle cost? And this was 13 years ago, so these numbers may be different now, but we looked at our mortgage, both of our car notes, our water bill, light bill, we looked at food, and we came up with around $2,000 a month. That's what it took to be basic. Not going out of town, not going out to dinner. That's just. And I think back then we had probably Blockbuster membership card. So now it's Netflix and everything, right? But that was our budget. So we figured at 12 months, that's $24,000. That's $2,000 a month times 12. So I figured if I could come up with $24,000, that would be enough to sustain our lifestyle. So if I never got a client, we don't have to change the way that we live.
Right.
So for the next 2.5 years, we didn't go on vacations. Well, we went on vacation. May have been a road trip to Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
We had Nashville weekend, and we had a lot of spaghetti nights. Mm-hmm. We didn't get in a lot of new clothes. So for that 2.5 years, we were able to allocate that money. Now, what's crazy was that I ended up having to accelerate it, and I had to start the business about 6 months sooner than I thought. So I had right around 12, 13,000. So I'm thinking I got about 6 months of living normally, then sugar, something got to happen.
Right.
So that was the way I looked at just breaking down the finances. And right around probably the 5th or 6th month, I struck gold and something miraculous happened, and I was able to persevere.
Let's talk about the miraculous. What was miraculous? What happened?
Oh gosh, I got my first real client that paid me an amount that had a comma in it. That was crazy. I was charging $1,000 a speech, and this was a company that was they were called Rinker Materials, and it was in Gillette, Wyoming. The razors. This is the town that made those razors in Gillette, Wyoming.
Okay.
I was using a software, Hayden, called Speech Dragon Voice Recognition Software. And the technology was that you talk your words instead of typing it. And it comes up on this screen, and then you look at editing, and then it goes through. This was way before the voice recognition stuff like Siri and Alexa. It wasn't as good back then. And I didn't do the proper editing. I was, hey, brother trying to get some paid. I ain't got time to read this rocking book. So I sent off an invoice for $1,000 for a speech, and I was supposed to say 1,000,000. That's 1,000. That's how it triggers in the voice recognition. I think I said 1,000,000, something like that, and it came up 10,000. So I'd messed up the spacing, but when you're in a hurry, you're not looking. So I sent the client player. I sent them a $10,000 freaking invoice, and I supposed to be 1,000. About a week goes by, and I get one of those real fat certified letter checks, and it was for $5,000. My wife's, what did you do? Is this legal? Can we keep this? I'm like, honey. I said, I don't know either, but it had the company name on it. Mm-hmm. So we had to use Skype back then. So I sent a message to the client asking for a meeting, and I put in the subject line regarding payment. That's all I said, regarding payment. So they get on the call. I'm freaking out. I got to give this money back. They sent me $5,000. I only need one. Do I send back a $4,000? I didn't have a checkbook. Mm-hmm. Do I send them $4,000? So the client gets on the call, and I'm thinking, how do I let them know I'm trustworthy when I've screwed up the invoice and now I got to send them back $4,000? I'm thinking they're gonna fire me. This is not my career. I need to go find a car wash or even learn how to cut hair. This ain't gonna work. The client gets on the call, and they have their CFO. Do you know what a CFO was back then? Their chief financial officer. And I fortunately asked one question, and I said, how can we make this right? And I'm thinking, Vincent sent us $4,000. Vincent sees us when to get there. Vincent deposit the whole thing, send it to us. They start with, we understand, Mr. Phipps, that what you sent us was a mistake. And we want to apologize that we did not properly pay you. If it's okay, for your $10,000 invoice, keep that first $5,000, and will it be okay if upon your arrival we give you the other half? Player, I'm so glad that videos were blurry back then.
your eyes were popping.
I said to them, mistakes happen. That will be fine. Yeah.
You ever hear you got a drop of sweat running down your brow?
Sweat, player. Oh my gosh. I met in my loft in my apartment house, and that was the first time I realized they'll pay somebody this much. Now, my new fee did not become $10,000, but it definitely was the last time I charged one, and that's when I realized my value.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. It's so easy as an entrepreneur to undervalue yourself. It is almost kind of criminally easy. And we talked about this on the episode with Bree, talking about find what your hourly rate is. And if your hourly rate that you get paid at like a regular job, you can take that and multiply it by 3. And that's how much you can get paid as an entrepreneur, or even more. You know, it's an open checkbook. If you don't have a checkbook, then, you know, it's okay to not even have a checkbook. But you got started. You took the leap.
Absolutely. And as an entrepreneur and as a small business owner, remember this for all of your phenomenal listeners out there, Hayden. Don't let your passion keep you from profit. Don't let you, just because you love doing it, don't mean you should get paid. Oh, no, I love to cook. Well, you're a caterer. You don't do this on the side. Well, you know, I love to help people with their taxes. Okay, well, there's a cost for that. So don't let something that you love keep you from getting paid, because it's okay to be passionate, but we've got to charge people. When we are professionals, we've got to, that's how it goes from being a favor or being a hookup, where I'm just trying to help you out, to here's a professional service. People want to pay for quality. I'd rather pay for a great meal than for you to give me a bad one I got to act like I like it and I don't really like it. I want to be able to say, this is not the way I asked for my steak. I want to be able to say, you know what, could I please have my sauce on the side? If they're doing you a favor, you just got to eat it.
Right.
But when you pay for a service, then you have the right to demand excellence. So as small business owners, we've got to treat our customers how to treat us. So when they say, hey, I want to just pick your brain, say, you know, I'd love to. We can have like a 15-minute conversation. If you want more than that, let me send you some of my pricing packages. Let me know which one works best for you. If they're serious, they'll go, great, send that to me. If they're not, you know what, let me go and try and Google, and then they realize they're not serious. But that's okay too, because you don't want your time wasted.
Right. You want to kill vampires.
Absolutely.
You want to kill vampires all day long. I'm in a mastermind. And
people will suck your time.
They will.
Yes.
Absolutely. There was a guy who was posting, and he had people asking him, because he's got a few properties, and they're like, hey, can I pick your brain? And he's made a Calendly account to set up. I think it's like he set it for $250 for an hour. And he said, I've had 2 people pay it so far.
That's it.
It's $500 that he made that would have been given away. And I don't want to. The people who are listening to this are probably sitting here like hearing dollar signs. Like, you need to bring value.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you've got to give your time away to develop that value.
And understand that if you're doing that, do it deliberately, not reactively and not subconsciously. Watch, for everybody listening, watch how much it will diminish when you start charging for your services. Watch how many people stop asking to pick your brain. When you start telling them your rate and your fee and your consulting cost, watch how they'll stop picking your brain. Watch how. So if they want to pick your brain, that means they see something valuable in you, which is good. But you may offer them, tell them, you'll give them 30 minutes for free, and then your regular rate may be $75. But for $50, we can meet for an hour and a half. Start structuring your pricing so that they see you as someone who's valuable, and they'll start to pay you.
It also goes back to developing yourself. You got to pour into yourself first. And if you investing into your education,
right? Because
people aren't going to want to pick your brain
if you're an idiot.
If there ain't nothing up there,
right? Well, it'll be slim pickings, right? Ain't nothing up there.
There's not much to pick.
It's like going to the flea market an hour before they close. There's still stuff there. But hey, you don't even want it. Right? They don't even want it. They'll give it to you. You go late enough. We want to be the type of entrepreneurs, the type of business owners, the type of professionals that not only do they pay us for us, Hayden, they pay us well. And they're happy about it. Because if the $10 they spend makes them $50 for your information, they'll find a way to pay you $50.
That's right, because they're going to want more.
They're going to want more, only if it's valuable.
Right. The
same way, remember, you're probably too young, you're just a baby, Hayden, but you may remember, back in the day, in the malls, Chick-fil-A would cut up the freshest, juiciest piece of chicken, and they would take toothpicks, and they would stick a piece of toothpick into the juiciest, moistest part of the Chick-fil-A. Now, as people are walking by, You got to smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Chick-fil-A knows it's good. And I'm always thinking, Mom, how can they make money giving it away? My mom goes, see that line, baby? See that line around the corner, baby? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, those are all people paying for it.
Right.
I said, well, why don't they just stand in line and get the free one? Because they want more. They'll pay for more. And that every time I drive past a Chick-fil-A and I see that line, I'm thinking about because you know it's good. You know, they don't need a Instagram. They don't need a plane flying above. You know it's good.
They provide a quality product. And I worked at Chick-fil-A for 4.5 years. So
you
I already know. Guess what I ate for 4.5 years and didn't get tired of? I ate
Chick-fil-A
for 4.5 years.
I could do Chick-fil-A every man. And the thing is, we've got to have the mindset of you bring so much value. They'll stand in line in the rain with their money out and they'll pay you what you ask for. That's what we got to focus on. And knowing what we have to serve is good.
Mm-hmm. And knowing your audience.
Absolutely.
They know their audience. Let's talk about.
But you caught it.
I'm looking across it. He's got this pin on. It says no. This is his license plate says no and
Speech coach.
Love that. I'm working on it every day. I wish I would have had Vincent's class because I really could have used it.
You're doing great anyway, Hayden.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about how connecting with people translated into the business that you've built today. What are some connections that you've made that have transformed your life and led you to where you are? Some people that you can recognize for that.
There are a ton. The first, of course, are my parents, Doris Phipps and Von Phipps. They've always taught me about the ability to plan and to get ahead. One of my first mentors is a gentleman whose name is Bruce Wilkinson. And he and I spoke at a conference where we shared the stage. Bruce was a member, is still a member, of the NSA, the National Speakers Association, of which I'm the former Tennessee president. That was where I first realized the impact of being around people who understand not just how to speak well, but understand the business of being paid to speak. Bruce and I went to a conference. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. I was maybe in my late 20s. He was maybe in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. This was in an area in the Midwest where it was snowed in, and other speakers who were supposed to be there did not show up. Supposed to be 5 speakers. Bruce and I were the only ones. I was a cocky young black guy. Bruce was a seasoned, smooth Caucasian gentleman. So visually, he was kind of like, he was a shorter guy, and not that I'm tall, but I was taller than him.
That's saying
so
a lot.
we just visually look like opposites.
Right.
And the person over the conference came to us and he said that they're going to cancel the event. We're snowed in. We're in this beautiful resort. Nobody could go anywhere. It was supposed to be for 3 days. He had about 100 members of his team there from all over the country. And he said, no other speaker showed up other than you two. I'll pay you guys what I promised. We're just going to cancel the conference. And I'm thinking, great, fine with me. Hey, a brother get paid, 2-day vacation, cool. And I was such an idiot. And Bruce didn't even know me, Hayden. And it was just Bruce, myself, and the event coordinator. And Bruce turns to me and then looks back at the owner and says, would you mind, sir, if my colleague and I discuss this? Like, colleague? I don't know you, player. And he said, oh, sure. He steps out. And Bruce introduced himself to me. He says, young man, we can really be heroes to these people right now. He says, do you have about 2.5 hours of content? And I'm thinking, man, I could talk forever. Are you kidding? And he goes, well, I got about 2.5. He says, can you make your keynote message, instead of an hour, can you make it an hour and a half? I'm like, okay, so I can do the same. That'll take us through lunch. He said, then in the afternoon, I'm going to take half of them. You take the other half. I want you to just walk them through a group of 50, step by step, how to have confidence, how to have poise. Think you can do that? I said, well, absolutely. He goes, now for the next day, let's you and I have dinner tonight. Let's you and I come up with a game plan of how I can teach them about safety and engineering. You teach them about how to talk about safety and engineering. And we came up with this full day itinerary where we go back to the client. And Bruce, he did all the talking. Bruce goes, my colleague and I conversed. We'd like to still have you do the workshop. Everybody's here. Don't worry about the money. We will cover all 2.5 days, just Vincent and I were already here, and you make sure you get value to your people. The event coordinator, oh, you'll do that? Really? I have somebody home? He ended up taking the amount, the event coordinator took the amount he was going to pay the other 3 speakers, split that amount. He gave the balance to Bruce, gave me the other half. Until this day, that client still bragged about how we saved the conference, how we could have easily just went home. And when I saw Bruce do that, he took a knucklehead like me. He understood the client's value. He understood the importance of opportunity. He understood how to step up in leadership. We could have taken the easy way out. But what I learned from him was that the organization of professional speakers, it's about integrity and honesty and doing the right thing. And those were fundamentals I learned that every business owner should have. That was one of the things I learned about the importance of relationships and understanding that value is not just a dollar sign, it's a relationship.
I like just am envisioning like a bat and it's striking out of the park right now. That was incredible.
Thank you,
That was
Hayden.
awesome.
Thank you.
So what I got out of that, my favorite part of that is, what did you say his name was again? I'm sorry.
Ben Wilkinson. Bruce Wilkinson.
Bruce. So I got a name wrong and you got a name wrong. We're 1 for 1. So he took that and said, let me talk to my colleague. I love that. That like stuck in my head because every time that I talk about my different business ventures that I have.
He didn't call me kid or this guy. And I didn't know him. He could have. I did not have the experience or skill that he had at that time. So it was just made me feel equal.
He created that relationship out of thin air with his words.
Right there.
So when I'm talking about what I do, I'm a 1099 employee across like 3-4 different companies. But when I talk about it, I say my business partners. I do not say my boss. I do not say whatever, because at the end of the day, I decide when I work, and when I go to Bree and I say, "Hey, I'm available these days." It's it's a partnership there. We work together to create business,
right?
And that's a mindset. And it when you're talking to people too, they take you more seriously in the way that you describe things. And at the end of the day, Brianna can be like, "You suck. You're not taking any more tours," and I could be quote unquote fired. But at the end of the day, I see every business thing that I do, it's a partnership.
Absolutely.
I'm bringing value, someone else is. And I see my partners, we're colleagues, you know? So you can create relationships with words.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And as small business owners, creating those relationships, Hayden, it's not just the words. And that is huge with it. When you look at those words, you want to make sure that you are also interviewing other people. When you go and give a sales pitch, maybe they're not a good fit for you. When you go and apply for a job, maybe they're not a good fit for you. So they're not just trying to size you up. You want to make sure, do I want to be here? Do you deserve what I'm bringing? Because if you have the world's best pork rib sandwich, you may not want to have your food truck at a vegan convention. It's not a good, you may sit there for an hour, you can make no money. Right. So you want to make sure that everything is a valuable relationship where, just like in a marriage or in a business, okay, if I bring the sauce, can you bring the napkins? Okay, if I know how to draw, can you buy the paint? It's got to be a mutual collaboration. And smart people want people who have skills that they don't have. If they got money already and they got resources, sugar, then you got to make more money. You got to find a way to use what they already have, because if it's not a good fit, then they don't see you as valuable.
What are some ways that in your business you create value?
With speech, you have to be creative about understanding the industry. For example, I do a lot with hospitality and restaurants and hotels and country clubs. So I'll ask them, if you look in your evaluation box, how many comments are good versus bad? And they can track that. I'll say, well, what if I can make it so that whatever number you currently have, I increase it by 30%? If you look at a group of realtors or people who are in car sales, and I ask them, what's your rate of closure right now on a home or on a car? So, okay, if I can teach you some strategy of how to ask questions, how to pitch this home, how to pitch this car, and you can increase your sales by 25, 30% in the next year, how much money would that make you? And they can track that, Hayden. They can track that. So I come in and approach where I'm not teaching you how to stop saying I'm not teaching you how to not sweat in your shoes or have shaky hands. I'm teaching presentation strategies that can be quantifiable. Now, I gave an example of maybe 2 or 3 just now, but I do this no matter who the client is. I find out how to make it customizable. So
change your pitch.
They can see the value of it. So it's less of me convincing them. It's more of, how much do you want your people to make? How many do you want to go through this class? How much more do you want to improve? And they go, well, if you can teach our 10, what if you taught 30? Okay, I can teach. Okay, what if we bought your book? Okay, well, can you do this online? And all of a sudden, they're bringing you business. They're bringing you ideas because you've shown that you can make your content not just quantifiable, but valuable in their world. And then you don't have to, you never see advertisements for water. People got to have it. So when you have something that is so valuable that you don't have to convince them, they'll come to you if you can show them value.
And I think referrals are an important part of that too. By delivering a good experience, it's almost impossible to not get more business.
People are so quick to talk about bad stuff. And if you give one bad service, they'll talk to everybody, but they'll post it. But I'm noticing, Hayden, that smart people, the good ones, they're starting to post more good stuff. So when you get one of those referrals, you have got to make sure that you are living up to that, because your referral is a representation of the last person who mentioned it. So if you don't stand up to that, you got to maintain that level of integrity and quality. And when those referrals come in, don't take that for granted. Keep that excellence. Keep being early. Keep being polite. Keep being kind, and they'll keep coming.
Man, this is just gym after gym, man, spitting out fire. So let's talk about discovering your value. How do you discover your value?
This one takes some time, Hayden, but you want to do 2 things if you're a small business owner before you look at setting a price. Number 1, do your homework. Know what is industry standard. Know what is normal. If you want to sell a hamburger and you know the average hamburger is going to be from between 10 and 20 bucks, and that's the cost of a hamburger. Fancy hamburger, regular hamburger. You need to know that's your price range. If you come out selling a hamburger that's $2, that's not within the range. So they will devalue your product no matter how, it could be Wagyu beef. Yeah. Nobody's going to pay a $2 hamburger. But then again, you can't also have a $75 hamburger. I don't care how much. I don't care how fresh the cow is. Nobody's going to buy that. So you have to first understand what's normal, what's average. I teach a public speaking class, and one of the things my students have to do is to interview in a real world scenario based on dynamics that I give them where they're to create their dream job. And I bring in professionals to interview them in front of the class. One of about 12 different questions they have to answer before they interview is they need to be able to identify what salary range is appropriate for this position, for this number of years, with this education, for this city. So you have to know all that. Teaching math at Harvard is going to be a different fee than teaching math in Ottawa.
Right.
Totally different. Oh, same math. Yeah, not the same place.
That's right.
So first, understand what's normal. Second is, once you know what's normal, the second is whatever you're asking for, you need to be able to articulate what skills, training, education, or proof that you have or have had in the past to justify being paid this. So if the range is between 50 and 60,000, what have you done to prove you're worth 65? Because everybody wants that higher number. If you are wanting to be paid $15 to $20 an hour, what have you done to show that you're worth $21 an hour? And it can't be, well, work real hard, I'll come in early. You're supposed to do that, sucker. That's part of the job. You can't be paid to come in on time. So you've got to make sure that A, you understand what's normal, and then 2, can you identify with what traits or skills you have that make you exceptional. Don't go to any negotiation until you've done your homework and you know your own value. That's how you create value, by stating value.
And it's sales. That's really what it is. This is definitely not a sales podcast. This is a connecting podcast, but sales is you have to connect in sales. It's a huge aspect. But when you're going into an interview, and I have a sneaky suspicion a few college students and people who are looking for jobs will listen to this.
Right.
When you're going into an interview, you have to be able to know what you're asking for. You've got to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
Because especially right now with all these layoffs that are happening, you've got to be able to articulate
absolutely
your value, and you need to be able to deliver on that value.
The problem with that delivery, Hayden, is that not just young people, anybody looking to advance their lives, they're not prepared to reduce their ego. They're not prepared. They're thinking, I have to know everything. I have to be the best applicant you've ever seen. They will even fudge the truth. How many times in an interview do you think the person being interviewed says, I don't know, have no clue? They'll freaking make up stuff because they're afraid of the truth. And a lot of interviewers, the companies that are hiring you, they're not looking for an expert right then. They want somebody who's manageable, coachable, somebody that they can mold, learn our system. That's what they want. If you know it all, you probably need to be an entrepreneur, doing it yourself. I was once asked to be a speaker at an event where they narrowed it down to 3 keynote speakers. This is the importance of having authenticity. This is the importance of admitting when you know something and when you don't, Hayden. All 3 of us were on the same level, asked about the same fee, had the same credentials. We looked different, but they wanted the best speaker, and it had nothing to do with exterior. They got to the point where they couldn't decide on which of the 3 of us they wanted. So they chose to do these impromptu interviews in front of all of us. So it's like an auditorium where it was me, the other 2 speakers, and like 5 people on stage.
Wow.
This huge room, like 10,000 people, like the weirdest environment ever. And you can hear your voice, just a huge room. They asked they met in a group, then they kind of sat down, they stacked their papers, and they said to the first speaker, what are your thoughts on how the Cecilia effect impacts interpersonal communication? And the first speaker, they kind of, I've read a lot about that, but my approach is blah, 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 blah. And they talk for about 2 minutes. And then they all sit there, take their notes, and they go, thank you. They asked the second speaker, well, in regard to the Cecilia effect, what do you think is going to be most important with getting our customers to come back to us? And they said, well, I remember what the first person said, and there's some truth to that, but here's what makes ours different, why I need to be your speaker, blah, 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 blah. And they go off on that again. And you can just see the first 2 speakers just kind of puffing their chest out. They were so proud. They get to me, and they asked me, well, Mr. Phipps, you've heard the question twice. What's the response? And I asked, what is the Cecilia effect?
That's what I'm thinking.
And they started laughing. And the speaker started laughing. My 2 other speakers started laughing. And then one of the speakers says, Vincent, man, as accomplished as you are, you don't know the Cecilia effect? And I said, I do admit I am a reader. I've gone to several conferences, but no, I have no clue what it is, and I don't feel comfortable answering a question unless I know what it is. I said, can I do some research? Could I let you know? But I don't know what that is. And then the panel said, well, that's fine, sir. You don't need to answer. We've made our decision. Thank you. And I'm thinking, I blew it. They don't even let me answer. A week later, I get a phone call, and they selected me. And I asked them, if you don't mind me asking, I was the only one that didn't answer the question, how did you all make that decision if I was the only one that didn't know? They said, Vincent, there is no Cecilia effect. We made it up.
That is awesome.
You've got to be honest. You've got to have integrity. Don't be a know-it-all. Be a ready-to-learn-it-all. Woo! I just thought of that one. Don't be a know-it-all. Be a ready-to-learn-it-all.
That's going to be on LinkedIn.
Man, right there.
There you go. That's going to be in the sales pitch now.
That's it.
All right. Well, we are butting up here on time because, as with all of my podcast guests, they are very busy people.
Oh.
And Vincent, he has some business to take care of. So let's talk about, before you go, though.
Yes, sir.
Where can, if people made it all the way through, and someone, when I get to like the last 40 minutes of my episode, these are the winners. The people who are still here, who are listening to this right now, these are the people who are going to hit the next level.
That's it.
So they want to get to the next level. Where can they work with you? How can we get involved in VIP communication?
Yes, sir. With Communication VIP, there are 3 different ways that we welcome people to come out. The first is on March the 30th at the Mountain City Club in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're going to do a presentation course. So if you've ever wanted to improve your sales pitches, improve your storytelling, be more effective when you're speaking with potential sponsors, you want to be at this workshop. It's called True, TRUE, where we teach sales professionals and entrepreneurs the 4 most important dynamics of how to be more effective and authentic in your sales pitches. And that's targeting your audience, understand the rationale of the problem that you solve, how to be conveying in your messages, and how to captivate your audiences with how your expertise aligns with what they're looking for. So that'll be $500 for anybody that wants to come to that full day workshop, and it includes all food and materials. We're also doing a course if you want to go to another level and you want a secondary means of income to supplement your wealth. We're doing a workshop called Pro Speakers Kit. That will be May 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. We're also doing that course also in November. You can go to eventbrite.com for the latest dates for any of these events. And Pro Speakers Kit is a course that teaches people how to get paid to speak. If you're comfortable being a consultant, or if you are a coach or an author, or you like doing workshops or seminars, or if you like the big stage and doing the keynotes like I like to do, there are ways to go about how to create contracts, how to get found, how to market yourself, how to nurture leads, how to turn a speaking engagement to 2 or 3 speaking engagements, how to get people to pay you to show up and do exactly what we're doing and to talk. That class is called Pro Speakers Kit. You can register for either of those on our website at vincentphipps.com or noums.com.
noums.com, baby.
And if you want just individual coaching as well, those are also available in different packages. So regardless of what you're looking for, whether it's sales coaching, individual coaching, or presentation coaching, we like to offer products that appeal to all of the small business owners and entrepreneurs. Regardless of your level, we want to bring value.
That's awesome. If somebody wants to pick your brain, what do they? I'm just
I was sending them my scheduling link, and you pick the 15-minute or the 30-minute.
That's
the
right.
1 hour, here's my PayPal link.
All right. Awesome. I love it. Also, go connect with Vincent on LinkedIn, Vincent Phipps.
Yes, sir. LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook.
All right. Awesome.
And thank you, Hayden, for allowing me to do this, sir. You are spectacular. We need more smart people like you who provide these platforms for others. So many people are out there trying to do for themselves. When someone like you, Hayden, offers this platform, we get to help each other by the listeners wanting to take the knowledge that's been shared to make the world a better place. So thank you for allowing me to be here, Hayden.
Well, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. You've been listening to the Art of Connecting podcast. If you haven't yet, go connect with me on social media at Hayden Fike, spelled weird. It's HAYDYNNFIKE. And follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, all that great stuff. We just got more amazing stuff coming, and go sign up for one of Vincent's courses, y'all. This is the real deal here. So I can't say any more on that. I hope y'all have a great day, and thanks for listening.